Welcome to the show. Geek Insider presents Into the GeekVerse, the place to get an inside look at movies, comics, games, tech, and everything exciting going on in the GeekVerse. Join Matthew Harris and David King as they take a deeper look at the good, the bad, and the downright terrible things our GeekVerse has to offer. With live chat, geek news, special guests, and lots more. So sit back, relax, and join us for a peek into the GeekVerse.
Hello, everyone. We are back with another Sunday edition of Into the GeekVerse. I am one of your hosts, Matthew Harris, and he is
David King.
And tonight, guys, we're going to be discussing Andor, the first 7 episodes. And if you caught it, great. If you haven't, there are probably going to be some spoilers here. And Andor, just for those that don't know, it's a prequel to Rogue One, which is a prequel to the original Star Wars, which is a prequel of the new stuff. And so, yeah, the chain goes on. But it's kind of cool where they're putting this spot in. But, David, if you had to describe in just a few words, what is your overall impression so far?
I think it was good. I think that good is used a lot for a lot of things. Like when you're writing a medium, I can't yet put it on a great pedestal for me personally. And right. I'm not putting it at bad because some of these episodes really started picking up where I'm getting more interested in it. And we'll get into breaking down why and where my interest started getting piqued. But with what you were saying there, I had read something that Andor is after Obi-Wan Kenobi and before Rogue One. We obviously know before Rogue One because it's a story of Cassian. And so it didn't register that for me. And for everybody else that may have said that was I have unfortunately been sick this past week, stuck in my room. So I didn't get to watch it. It's just been kind of
right. And I just caught the 7th episode today. I'm enjoying it. It's not action packed. They're building up the storyline of all of this. And I was under the impression, I thought for sure this was another one of those that was going to be, like 9 episodes or 6 episodes is really what I thought. But then I found out the other day that there's a whole nother season plan. There's 12 episodes this season, 12 episodes next season. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they pick it up, because I do remember that I can't think of his name, but in the trailers, in the trailers for this, they actually show Forrest Whitaker's character from Rogue One. And when I was watching the 6th episode, I was like, he hadn't even shown up yet. And that's what made me look it up. And I was like, oh, shit, there's 12 episodes. But, the first episode starts out, we see Cassian. He's on, I forget what planet. But he's going into this city. And there's this group called, isn't it the company or something like that? I forget what it is. But they are like an offshoot of the Empire. They report to the Empire, but they run certain little cities. And he goes in. He's just going to a bar or a brothel. He's having a couple of drinks, and a couple of these guards. There's a couple of these guards that start messing with him. They get pissed off that the lady serves him first, and they're just kind of belligerent and fucking with him. Then they start following him down the road, and there's an altercation, and he's trying to be cool, man. He's like, look, there's some credits in my pocket. Take them. I just don't want to be bothered. Well, they keep on, and there's some shit. He ends up, one gets killed, and the other one's trying to kill or get Cassian, and then he gets brutal though.
That was a good part. I mean,
yeah,
it was your first sense at like where Cassian, you didn't know yet, but it was a good start in like where he became a badass, and this is the start of his escalation to who he becomes. So as Matthew was saying, you've got, I would say described as an alleyway. They're coming and they're shaking him down with some really brutal stuff like, oh, it'd be a shame if you were this person for, we could think that. And so, they're shaking him down and he's like, whatever, take the credits in my coat pocket.
Right.
Like you were saying. And he's feeling around. He's like, other coat pocket. The guy puts a gun to his head and he's like, well, man. And they're still trying to shake him down. Man, he goes full fucking badass.
Yeah,
and
he does.
He thinks like he's just knocking this dude unconscious, holding the gun up to the other one, like, all right, we done playing. Y'all gonna back off now, right? And then you see the just terrified look on this other guy's face. And then that's when the camera pans and you see the other guy and he crawls over to them. Cassian killed that guard. He didn't even mean to.
Right.
And so, of course, then, he's pleading everything like that. But, like, dude doesn't even give 1 minute after his friend's dead. And he's like, it's cool. We could say this was all an accident.
Right.
Here. Like, and so he's trying to do that. And then, like, you see in Cassian's eye, he's like, you're just a fucking dirtbag. He's just your friend. And you're just going
right.
to. And
then plus how is he going to trust his ass? That was what was going through my head is how am I going to trust you? Every person, you see it in the movies all the time. You got them, you're dead to rights. And then they're like, I promise I won't tell anyone. You lying son of a bitch. You're going to tell on me.
Yeah,
and so he blasts
altercations that you could believe someone with. Not one.
But then he blasts that second cop on purpose. The first one was an accident. He blasts that second son of a bitch. Well, then, of course, he's got to go on the run. And, there's this one officer with the company or whatever they're called. He gets pissed, with 2 officers killed. He's wanting to go after Cassian. They get him identified. But
now,
then
question on that, since the guy we're talking about. I wish I had his name. He's in like every single episode. He's a big part of it where the story goes. I usually pertain to more looking into characters' acting abilities and how the actor portrays that role. And so before I say what I think about it, if you had to think about it, are you impressed with this guy's acting?
I'm not impressed with the character or the acting. He's very stoic. I think they're building something up on him because he's laser focused in, and we'll talk about more of what happens to him. But he's really focused on finding Cassian, even after he is in trouble and he's got a different job. He's blaming Cassian for his predicament, and so I think he's going to be something. There's something that in his storyline he's either gonna. He's not a Jedi or he's not we haven't seen any Force stuff, which is kind of cool, but I think they're building up. I don't know the character later on, and so we'll see. I think they're building up, but no, right now I'm not impressed with the character. I get kind of bored when they flash to his story and he's sitting there. He's kind of a Norman Bates kind of character, really, if you think about it.
I'm like you. I'm staying on the skeptic side, and I'm still providing a little bit of hope for him with how much screen time he's getting for something to be much bigger later. But even if it is, I feel like it's really hard because I can't blame the actor, but also actors sometimes have the ability to show more facial expressions or slight body movements, expressions to give the audience a better feel and understanding of that character. And you can do that even if it's not in the script by understanding the role that you're wanting to take on. Right. And there's plenty of examples of that. But I wish that if we had a little bit more of that, I would feel like you don't always want to feel for the villain, like be on their side, but you want to feel them. You want to understand their engagement in the story. And to me, that makes a better plot for the series. And with him, he's just like you said, he's very stoic and something to prove, but not really clear. And he's not even cool or anything, or
Right,
like very
right.
demanding either. We talk about later how he's a coward, and like I just, that was one of the things that I think could have done this better with him having so much screen time, being able for us to understand him more, and
Or to
like,
hate him, you know,
yeah,
you don't know what to do right now. Do you love him? Do you hate him? You just don't know. He just kind of seems right now his storyline is just thrown in.
but
And
speaking of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Speaking of that guy, the first time we see him, he goes into his boss's office, and you were talking about that, and he goes, "All right, I've been up all night. There's, our two of our men are dead," and he goes, "You've been up all night on this?" And he goes, "What kind of person would I be if I didn't stay up all
Right,
night to
right.
avenge our fallen brothers?" But it wasn't like, if you hear someone saying that from our military or something, or you get a show, you get a feeling for it. Like, damn right, brother, you take care of your own. But you didn't get that from him.
Right.
And so, but then I love it. The boss is all like, he just like gets up and he goes, "No, they took on too much they could handle. They did this.
They were at a brothel.
Yeah,
he's
they
like,
were
they had a
asking for
brothel.
it." And he knew the guy. He knew one of the guys that died, and he was like, "Oh yeah, dude, he was a piece of shit, basically."
Yeah.
And I love it, dude. He was a boss who understood business, and that's the empire. Like, all right,
Right.
I mean,
and
it was
he
working
spun
under
it.
the empire, but
And he spun the story. He's like,
yeah.
They went after a robber, or I forget what it was, and they died in the line of duty. So he was going to let them go down as, as heroes. And the other guy's like, look, somebody's getting away with murder. And so he goes behind his boss's back, and that ends up being his downfall. And actually even pisses off the empire, because they come in and decide, we're going to be in charge now of this area. That was one thing I wanted to mention. This is after Order 66, and Palpatine is outed at this point. We know Palpatine is the Emperor, but they at points refer to him as Senator Palpatine, and even though the Senate's been abolished, and they just keep referring to some stuff that doesn't make much sense to me. There was something about the stormtroopers. I wish I'd have wrote this down, because they alluded that they weren't clones. And because I remember saying to Brenda, I was like, wait a minute, that's supposed to be a stormtrooper. And at this point in time, they were all clones. And they alluded to the fact that it was somebody that was raised as a stormtrooper that wasn't a clone. I wish I'd have wrote this stuff down. Because some of it just did not seem cohesive with the prequels, with what we know had happened there, and some of the Star Wars lore. And again, I'm going to write it down next time when I rewatch.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, we've been watching through this, and of course, we love to be going through it and telling y'all our opinion. But guys, if you can hit that on a period, knowing exactly what we're talking about, come to YouTube, drop that comment, right. Let us know. And if you're even here live, drop it in there. We'll make sure to feature you on the show up here, and we'll be able to talk about how you're officially into the GeekVerse.
Exactly. And, that's another thing. We haven't heard Vader mentioned. We've heard Palpatine. There are a lot of little not guest appearances, really, because a lot of them are characters we know from Rogue One, and even further on, we got Mon Mothma. We're seeing her evolution from the politician and helping out the rebellion. And we see, I can't think of his name, the guy that gets Cassian to go, which we'll talk about in a second. But I can't remember that character's name, but he's in the Rogue One, I do believe. And so we get those little guest appearances, those little nods to the
Saw Gerrera.
No, Saw is going to be in later. That's Forrest Whitaker. I know he's in it because I seen him in the trailers when we first started hearing about Andor.
Well, they mentioned it already in one of the episodes.
Yeah, they did mention him. but and I don't have any notes on exactly what happened, what each episode was focused on, but
Right.
there, we got Cassian on the run. He's on the run. He goes through a bunch of shit, of course, and then he ends up getting kind of recruited, bought, becomes a mercenary. Basically, he's given a job that he's going to join, basically the start of the rebellion, and so they're going to go pull a job, and exactly, this is the building of the basics of the start of the rebellion. And I do like that, because it's not like all of a sudden everybody came together and goes, oh, we're going to fight against the Empire. You got people that are inside the Empire or inside the politics side of things that are starting to work towards building a rebellion. They're trying to get the money together.
And I like that. I mean, okay,
I do too.
So something that I was upset about, because I felt like this was a slow beginning, was I wanted to see a rebellion being built, how they got the money, how they coerced people into, the rebellion, how this happened, how he became into it, the really actionable stuff. And at first I'm just like, this is not getting me into the rebellion. Right. But later, as we'll talk to the end of 7, you start getting where it gets into the rebellion. Now,
well, even in 5 and 6, because they're planning that big robbery to get a lot of credits.
Once he does start getting recruited to the mercenary. Now, before that, you see that as he's frantically going around, you see he's going back and forth between the ship, and he goes to his old friend Biggs, and is like, hey, I need to sell this real quick, has some dialogue and everything, and he's like, no, I'm not going to sell it to you. And she's like, oh, come on, man, and everything, and fine, I'll find a different buyer for you. They arrange a buyer and everything, and you're starting to get snips of Biggs's boyfriend, I wish I remember the name because he's actually important.
Tim, I think. Tim.
Tim. All these cool names like Biggs and Cassian, and you have Tim. Right. Anyways, so
but it was with two M's though. It was with 2 M's, so that's supposed to make
it. So we see him, and then later we figure out that Cassian and Biggs used to be a thing, and now Biggs and Tim is a thing. And you can obviously tell the camaraderie between Biggs and Cassian. Like they're 2 peas in a pod.
They have a connection.
The street kids that scavenged and made it to a point, and they got tough together. Like you feel that. And that's what I'm talking about, being able to get that acting in and understanding without having to fully understand backstories or anything, that I was hoping with the guy.
And right. We have nothing on him, but we do in flashbacks, we get the Cassian story of what happens. They're basically like forest people. His family. Yeah, and they are living in the woods. They got their little encampment, and then all of a sudden the Empire shows up there, and a lot of stuff happens. People getting killed, and that is setting the stage for a deep hatred of the Empire for Cassie.
Right. This little girl goes down there. They're up above, and that girl goes to kill one of the Empire soldiers, but another one behind them actually kills them, and then they freak out and stuff. They go down. They go to leave to take their dead friend, girl, and Cassian is intrigued by what he sees. He goes into the ship and he's starting to look around, and then that's the moment when, essentially, he's a kidnapped. Would you agree with me?
Yeah. She's like, oh no, he'll never make it here, and so she takes him in.
Right.
Basic.
She was everybody dies.
yeah. But I think we're going to see something later, because in the 7, I can't think of the woman's name that took him in, but she's like, stop looking for your sister. It's futile. I think that was foreshadowing that we're going to see the sister later on, and she may even work for the Empire. Something that's going to be a big conflict. and as a writer, a lot of the times I'm able to predict what these kind of things, these storylines are going to go. But what I like about Andor is it is kind of unpredictable. It's not a character that we know a lot about. I loved him in Rogue One. Rogue One is one of my favorite new Star Wars movies. From a loner. Yeah, exactly. Robert, thanks for chiming in. And I think that's part of the reasoning on why it's slow right now is they are trying to do that character building. That's why we're getting 2 seasons of it. We're going to see him and the rebellion grow.
I'm honestly at this point, I'll take a pause point and mention I was very skeptical and kind of still concerned that you have such a big impact to the galaxy in Star Wars, which is the rebellion. It is a consistent key throughout all of the stories, and like it's just something that makes or breaks. It changes the tide of everything, and instead of having these great shows that they're producing, giving you straight into the full rebellion, they're focusing on one guy, which is a really great guy, and he did very well in Rogue One. But I'm a little bit concerned you're focusing so much on his story, but also trying to give us this rebel story that everyone's craving. I'm worried that they're mixing it too much, and I'm not going to get as much as I want out of the rebel side. But I'm slowly proven wrong as we're continuing. But what's your thought process on that? I mean, the rebel is such a big thing. Are you at all worried that it's just not going to be developed enough in this storyline that we're wanting?
No, I because I think that's part of the plan. That's why we're seeing Mon Mothma and the other guy that is in the city, and he's running that little shop, and he's secretly financing everything. I think that's what they're doing is they're building up to be both things. We're going to see Caspian become. I said Caspian like from Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. But yeah, I think we're going to see both of those storylines. I think we are going to get the building blocks, the opening of the rebellion. I hope and pray that they don't use CGI to bring Princess Leia into it. Vader, cool. We know that Hayden Christensen is back as Vader. Where they got some other stuff planned with him. And so it'd be cool to see him. But it's weird to me to have Hayden Christensen back as Darth Vader, but we never see his face unless it's all fucked up. But otherwise, he's as Vader.
Well, okay, but but the flashbacks. There's plenty of flashbacks of new stuff that we got to see. For example, guys, if you have not checked out our Obi-Wan, we have 2 videos out from originally starting into the GeekVerse. Go check them out. But there's a lot of flashbacks that's not in the original movies of new stuff that Hayden Christensen is in. So we may get more of that. In Obi-Wan series, it has flashbacks where we see Hayden Christensen that's not from the original movie. All new. So maybe that's like his little bit of showing his face.
Right. And is he even really the one in the Darth Vader suit? We know it's not, because when we went to that convention, there was the guy from Obi-Wan Kenobi who was Darth Vader. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be, I think they're building that to where we're going to get a Darth Vader series. And I hope so.
There's so much and everything. Throw it all in there.
Yep, exactly. But anyway, back to Andor. You're right. There is a couple of storylines. We got the Andor storyline. We've got the backstory of Andor that we're getting in little snips of clips. And then there's the rebellion being built. But then there's also that one dude in the Empire that's like I thought of it a while ago. The best description is Norman Bates. He's just, and he's got the mother, the overbearing mother that's on him. You lost your job. You're going to call your uncle and get a job. It's just the epitome of the Norman Bates mom. But they start building up. And he becomes, like I said a minute ago, kind of a mercenary. Homeboy gives him a necklace, looks like a crystal you get off of eBay, or Etsy or one of those
Oh,
sites.
whoa. We got to stop and address this right now. How have you not seen it yet?
Yeah, because he refuses to. This is my brother. He refuses to watch anything until all the episodes are out. So he's not going to see it for a few years because he'll wait until all 24 episodes are out.
Spoilers ahead.
Yeah, and he probably doesn't remember all of Rebel One or Rogue One. But the character that we're talking about, Jason, is from Rogue One. He's the main guy, and that ends up stealing the plans, which they give to R2D2, to get to Princess, or no, excuse me, they get it to Princess Leia because she shows up, right? But
Cyril, by the way, is the guy.
That's his name. Yeah.
Or Syril. I forget how they pronounce it, but Star Wars names are kind of hard sometimes. So.
Right. But they start. The dude gives him this crystal-looking thing, and it's worth a lot of money. But he's telling him, I want this back because I forget what it was. It was sentimental to him, or something.
He doesn't ever say why it's sentimental. He goes like, only use this as a last resort. It's worth this much and everything, but I have to. You will give it back to me, whatever. Like, but he never tells us why.
Now, I can't remember what color it is, even though this is Star Wars, son. This is this is Andor. This is Star Wars Andor. Anyway, the crystal, I can't remember what color it is, but I just thought of this. Do you think it could be a crystal for a lightsaber?
That's what kyber crystals are. They're used
I didn't remember it was a kyber crystal. Yeah. Okay, so there's no telling what that could be leading to. I had just thought about that. But anyway, yeah, he gives him that, and he tells him, I want you to go on this mission. You're not going to give anybody your name, and you're going to go and help them do this job. And he basically tells it's group of rebels is what they are. Because they're going to strike the Empire. And he's like, don't give them your name. You don't tell anybody that I'm paying you on this.
Well, now the trip is, but before that, I apologize for stopping you. When Cassian gets back to Bix and, they're rushing, the town is kind of coming, like, they're doing this thing. You remember the whole town is like,
right.
Yeah. They're doing their own alert because they hate this group that is controlling them and kind of dictating them. And so they're doing that as an intimidation tactic. And Cyril, who is leading these men to go find Cassian, and then Cassian's rushing. He's got this thing that he's supposed to sell to this guy that Bix set it up with. He goes to the location. Pulls a gun. He's doing the whole like, all right, I want this much for it. And the guy's, he's not talking to him at all about price, that item, nothing. He's like, I know about you. I know everything about you. And he's like, I don't care. Like, just give me the money. I need to get out of here. I don't care. And he just continues. I know. And then he's telling about his past and his story and why he cares and like all that stuff. And it's getting to the point where like Cassian's about to kill him and everything. But then now they're surrounded because they've taken too long. Right. So then he ends up convincing Cassian, like, haven't you always wanted to do so much more against the Empire and stuff? And that's kind of what sparks them into, fine, I'll go with you. And they leave the device behind. They barely escape because they're surrounded by all those men. And then that's when, we get to the ship, as they're flying away. And then back to where you were saying, where he's like, hey, don't give him your name. Don't give him this. You're here for a job. I'll give you this kind of like a down payment. You get X amount when you're done. It's a really big job. And even Cassian's like, this is suicide. But then for the amount of credits, he's like, okay, he gets convinced to it. So he has to stay in the ship. Why this guy who is hiring him goes out and talks to this one lady that's out there, saying that Cassian's going to be reporting to her and he won't see him. Right. Anyways, you can continue.
Well, the one thing I wanted to say is that character, that old man, to me, he's one of the most, or interesting aspects of this series. Because he's working both sides, he shows up.
He's
We
got
don't know.
personality.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this dynamic from him.
And, well, like you said, he knows a lot about Cassian. And so we don't know how. We don't know how he's found out so much about Cassian and why he thinks he would be able to lead this group. And it's really, really good as far as that aspect goes. I think, because not only does he come in, he knows all about Cassian, and he's saying, this is, he helps him out. You're wanted, you killed these 2 cops, and I'm offering you this way out. And he's really assertive. He's given him, basically, shit in one hand or die. Right. And then we, see him go to his Empire job, or his legit job, and he's all prim and proper,
wig on,
right? And he's got this prestigious shop. Mon Mothma comes, which she's a senator at that time, and so we're really seeing this dynamic between this guy. But at that point, before we move on any further, we got to pay a couple of bills, and so folks, we'll be right back after this word from Core Gaming, and it'll tell you here in a minute, but there is a coupon code you can use for all you gamers out there to get a discount.
Check it out. MobileEdge.com has award-winning products with innovative features and contemporary, edgy designs that empower you to look sharp and travel smart with your mobile tech. Your beloved, not to mention expensive gaming gear and mobile tech devices are an extension of you, so give them the protection and style they deserve wherever you go. Find them at MobileEdge.com and protect your tech with Mobile Edge. Bring it on. Hey Geek Insiders, Mobile Edge has a special coupon code for our dedicated listeners. Get 25% off your Mobile Edge gear using coupon code GEEK25. That's GEEK25. Geek out.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. And we're discussing Andor, the first 7 episodes. And Robert, we just mentioned one thing. We were talking about, I wish we'd looked up that character's name. But he does. He's not only Mon Mothma comes to see him, he's advising her. And we learn that Mon Mothma is doing the same thing. She is a senator, but she's sick of the Empire. She doesn't like where it's going, and she's dipping into her family funds to help run it a little bit, but she doesn't know what Homeboy is doing. And she doesn't know. I mean, she knows that she can trust him and that he's against the Empire, but she doesn't know that he is financing and pushing this heist of the Empire. And with the heist is really interesting. It's this lone outpost. It's heavily guarded, but that's where payroll go. A big chunk of payroll goes to pay. And which go ahead.
I was going to say, I wanted to mention, as everybody probably knows by now, we've addressed already about the acting and stuff like that. And I wanted to say this older guy, that's the kind of acting that I like to see, where we have this wide variety, assertiveness. You've got his kind of goofy side in his shop, and we get an idea for the kind of man that he is. But he also gives us, keeps us on our toes. But with Cyril, he's not assertive enough. He's not like, I'm going to start taking control over all this because I know what's best. It's...
Right. And his name is Luthen. And folks, if you're wondering who we're talking about, it's the same guy that is in Thor, that plays the scientist in Thor. That's the actor. But yeah, he is bringing the most dynamic range. He has the most interesting character other than Cassian. Cassian does make me want to know more. I like the scenes he's in because he is the epitome of the reluctant hero. He does not want to be involved. He wants to go and live his life. He gets fucked when he has to kill the 2 cops.
Kind of reminds me of Han Solo.
Yeah, it's the same kind of building. He's the reluctant hero. He doesn't want to be involved with a rebellion. He even says at one time,
drawn into it.
And he's like, what are you going to change? He tells his mom that in later episodes, And so, he doesn't want to get involved in it, but he's thinking, okay, I'm wanted. Everybody's looking for me right now. I can do this job and get enough credits to live my life comfortably. I can take mom. We can go somewhere outside of the Empire's reach or where they're not at right now, and we can live comfortably the rest of our lives. That's what's in his mind. It's self-preservation and just getting out of this fucking situation that he's in. And so they're building Cassian. I really, like I said earlier, I really think that they're building this up to where, of course, it's going to lead into Rogue One, but that this is going to focus more on the rebellion being built up.
Yeah, and I really got that, especially the end of 7, which we'll get onto. But back to where we were continuing from the story in the series, the old man talks to the woman, comes back into the ship, Cassian leaves. He's now known as Clem.
Yeah, Clem.
And they do a very long hike, and they're having to avoid the ships. Cassian is giving this lady shit. She's giving him shit. And before we know it, they're at the base. And while they're walking and stuff, like we have a clear understanding that this team, no one is going to appreciate this new guy getting dropped in all of a sudden. And Cassian asks the most important question. Now that you have me, how many people do we have for this? She goes, 7.
And he's like, going against the Empire. Again, he stresses this is a suicide mission.
He's going after a garrison, which is like the big thing. And there's this Air Force not far from it.
And they got to steal a ship. And it's a clunker, it's like a big cargo ship. It's not something you can, it's not a TIE fighter or an X-Wing.
Or Millennium Falcon for that.
Yeah, it's this big clunky thing. And he's like, how the hell are we going to get out of here? And he said that, oh, yeah, that's a good point, Robert. Thanks. Sorry, I was reading, folks. He says, are you gonna touch on that Andor was training to be an Empire pilot, and that is how he learned how to fly ships, and that is a good point because that's why they want him for this job is because he can fly, but they get to camp, and of course, like David said, they let along the trip that he's not going to be well received. I'm just going to tell them that this was planned all along. I just didn't tell them.
Cannot be told he's a hired.
Right. And they get there, and of course, everybody, because they've been planning this in secret, and they're thinking, shit, this dude could be a plant. How do we know you're not, with the Empire? And, so there's all this conflict going on. But before I forget, before we tell more, what is your opinion? How did you feel about the first quote unquote sex scene in Star Wars that we've ever had?
The only one that I can think of was Leia and Solo for the first, or are you referring to something else?
No, I don't remember what characters it is, but they actually show them going to bed. And it's not the two girls. It's not the lesbian couple. And I know later on in 7, in 7, when he gets the payoff, he's got all the credits. She's in bed next up. Yeah, she's in bed naked. But no,
I thought you were talking about like in Star Wars altogether, like when it's. But no, I know what you're talking about. Honestly, it reminded me of the Star Trek one where Kirk wakes up and he's in bed with the chick. And I'm not talking about in episode 7. I wish I had taken the notes. It's in one of the earlier episodes. There's actually sex. I don't remember, how the scene works out. I just remember that there was actually, instead of innuendo of Han and Leia or Leia and Luke, if you listen to some of the rumors,
But yeah, there was something. There were.
Oh, are you talking about Tim and?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, because she comes over and late at night after he was following.
Yeah,
her,
yeah. That's exactly it.
And she's like, he says something, and she's like, "How about we just skip all this?" And
yeah,
yeah.
And that to me, I didn't really like that.
Really?
You know, yeah, I just didn't. Yes, I understand it's a fact of life, but Star Wars, I didn't need that.
See, to me,
it's for kids. You know,
it's less about all that. I am. Let me put this out there, folks, because a lot of y'all are going to be parents and stuff. Matthew's been a parent and stuff like that. I'm not a parent, so I'm not saying that I know best. I just imagine that it's a fact of life, and if you're not giving something for your kids to get riled up about, it's just a dress. They may not even fully understand it or something. They're moving forward. Plus, this has got a lot of killing, and I don't know if they're like fully going for kids, maybe more like teens. But anyways, to me, I liked it because this was very raw of, even though they're not like humanity, it's just, you could see that she wasn't actually harboring feelings for Cassian. She's fed up with all of this.
Right.
She helped him out. She is just having a shitty day. She wants to release some stress. She wants to go to her boyfriend, like kind of reassure him, like it just happens. She is tired, and we don't get that. We just get in most movies and shows where people are just kind of like they take someone like, I just had a rough day. Why don't I just go over there? And then they just drop it. It's just, I'm not thrown in showing Tim's jealousy and calling the Empire.
That's a good point.
I mean, where I was leading with her coming over is like, all of this is like leading into Tim being suspicious, being the man he is, which he calls the Empire, reporting Cassian. Which, with that being said, we didn't even mention he does that. She tries to protect Tim while Cassian's running away from the troops that are coming in, and they kill Tim. So he dies. But back to what you were saying, I liked it. It's not like you actually got to see naked body parts and everything, but I think that it was something that gives you more character development, which is what we need. I hate when things blow stuff off and we're just supposed to always understand, like, oh, but she really does like him. But this showed us, like, it's just they're being friends, and that's how it works down there. When you get these type of cities that is dictated and stuff, and you have your own little workings where people are doing alarms for other people to help them out and stuff, you create these kind of things and ways to help people out. And she was showing that it's just something they did, and she was still loyal to her boyfriend. I personally liked it. Guys, if you disagree, drop us a comment. Let us know. We'd love to hear. Matthew disagreed on it. I thought I liked it being put in there.
And dude, when we opened the show and I did the greeting and everything, I completely omitted something here, and I'm remiss in doing it. This show is officially sponsored by Colgate, and we're going to run a little bump here, and we'll be right back. We're going to pick up where we left off, talking about the camp when Cassian shows up. We've only got 15 minutes left of the show, so, well, we may go over because we got a lot left to discuss. So stick with us. We'll be right back, folks. Hey, everyone. It's a known fact that when brushing, most people miss up to 40% of their teeth. But thankfully, the Hum by Colgate has you covered. Hum by Colgate is a smart toothbrush and app combination that will give you and the kids sparkling smiles and more of them. Colgate is the official sponsor of Into the GeekVerse, and you can get into the rhythm of better brushing by heading over to shop.colgate.com. As an official insider, you can use discount code GEEK20 and get 20% off the Hum by Colgate. That's shop.colgate.com and discount code GEEK20. All right, folks, we're back, and we are discussing Andor, and we're probably, I guess it's probably episode 3 that we're into right now. When
we're going into 5 because we're at where they're in the group, and now Cassian is starting to train to be a part of their plan for invading the garrison.
And they
But we were just doing
reluctantly,
that.
they reluctantly start talking about the plan in front of Cassian. They're still not sure about him. There's
But
a
you're
little,
meeting everybody, like the kid, and then we learn that an actual lieutenant for the Empire is defecting.
yeah, that's a big thing. He arrives up and he's like, "Who the fuck is this?" Because he's worried that if there's a plant, his position's going to be compromised. He's giving them information about the garrison, where
And
the
of course,
money
Cassian's
is.
like, how do we know we can trust him? Even though
Right,
he's been there like
exactly.
the longest.
Right. And but Cassian is his mind's always going. He doesn't want to get caught for what he's wanted for. He damn sure doesn't want to die in this thing.
He wants the money and out. And
Yep.
it's talked about.
Yeah, and they start doing the plan, and then Cassian's like, "That's a stupid fucking plan."
At several points too, they're like, "We're gonna do this, and someone else is gonna fly," and he's like, "No, I'm in here to fly." And she's like, "We already made the plans," and he's like, "Hell with your plans. I'm gonna fly this,
Or I'm done. I'm out.
He's like, "I'm not putting my ass on the line for someone else's flying ability. If I'm putting my ass on the line, I'm gonna be the one flying."
Yep, exactly. And so then they set off, and you're gonna have to kind of take the lead on this part because
I
don't
this,
remember.
I know a lot about the planning and stuff like that. I like we also didn't talk about that really fearless chick, which they say she's probably the most badass out of all of us. Strong, silent kind of type. Eventually, everyone starts growing him. Cassian is somehow a very easy guy to open up to, kind of like Matthew is over here. You see him at any convention, and anybody can go walk him and talk to him. He's all scruffy looking, tattoos, big dude. Like, people still go up and talk to him. Anyways, but the thing
I got a
is you
sign
still see
over my
people,
head.
right? People are still trying not to let Cassian in and stuff like that. But you start seeing, like, the boy is telling them more stories, the girl, and the leader is just trying to kind of giving in to him, like, well, we have to go by this because you're here. We've got to do this. So then later, before they start going into it, right before the episode before, or actually the
same episode. Yeah.
The one other guy we haven't talked about, which he pulls a knife out to Cassian's throat, or as they know him as, Clem. And he's trying to call him out for it and everything like that. The leader's like, knock it off. We're about to do this plan. Suck it up. We're going to do this and everything. They pull the knife down. Everyone is getting back. And then Cassian, a.k.a. Clem, is like, you wanted to know why I'm here? Because the guy was pissed. He's like, you're not telling anyone why you're here, and we don't like that.
Right.
And, excuse me, guys. So after it disputes, Cassian makes his own decision to say, I'm hired. I'm getting paid to be here. And that ruffled that guy's feathers up. And so later that night, the leader tells him to go tell Cassian about his brother. So he says, hey, man, I had a brother. The Empire killed him. This is revenge for me. And Cassian's like, oh, you're kind of getting that camaraderie before you're going to do this.
Right.
Then you do the final training bit where they're learning how to march and everything. Shoot, they're hiding from TIE fighters.
Because they got to fake their way in. They're not just going to go blasting in. They're not going over the walls. They have to integrate.
He has the balls. He calls out the lieutenant who's training them, and he goes, "You're doing this wrong. Switch this." And he's like, "How about you learn the strategy before you try to tell everyone else what to do?" And the leader looks and goes, "Why?" And they go, "Because this person's left-handed." And I'm like, God, dude, I love when people think that out because any of that kind of stuff could give them away. And then they test him. They go, okay, every single person in the team, what are they all? And then they prove Cassian has an eye for detail. So Lieutenant shuts the fuck up and he switches it around and they continue the training. End of that episode, going into the actual episode where they start raiding. Oh, I apologize, Robert. I know you posted another note here.
Well, he said before that, he said we need to talk about the character that is writing about the rebellion. And off the top of my head, I can't remember who the hell that is. Um, but that is another storyline we got going on, that they are starting to write about the rebellion. And again, like Robert said on the second one, is it's being set up as important, and that is going to be interesting to see.
Wait. I missed that. Where was that?
It's kind of, there's a couple of little parts, and I'm the same way. It was kind of something that I just didn't pay attention to, because I couldn't even tell you which character it was. Robert, if you remember, tell us what character it was. It might spur our memory.
Yeah, anyone else, if you got favorite parts, make sure to drop them below while we're still live so you can be featured in today's episode.
But, and that's a reminder for, I was just going to say, that's a reminder for everybody that listens on the podcast. We are live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific and on YouTube, or you can catch us on like a half a dozen different Facebook pages. But, okay.
The boy, is that who you're talking about? Oh, that's what they had to give Cassie. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the little boy. Okay, yeah.
But now I forget what I was saying. It happens every episode. And it's not Robert's fault. I would have done it anyway at some point. But damn it. Go ahead, because I can't remember what I was going to say.
Getting into the final part where they go to do the raid, they are the indigenous people are like coming in. They're marching behind them. They're fooling all of the Empire and stuff. The corporal is there. They're fooling the corporal. They get inside of it. They lock the doors and they hold up the guy who's above corporal's family and the boss of the guy who, like the boss that's coming for an inspection or something.
Right.
And it's funny because then the biggest boss, as they're being held at gunpoint, he pulls his pistol out. And like you can see on Cassian, someone mentions about like nobody wants to die today or shooting or anything. And then the girl comes down the hatch and just shoots the boss, the highest boss, just shoots him. And then the like mid boss or whatever is like, okay, like do what he says, like we'll just go along. And then he keeps trying to plead with them, like, I don't have access to this, I won't be able to do it. And they're like, shut up, we know how this works, continue. The family stays there, he goes down below, and he orders the men to get in line. And they line up for an inspection and everything like that. And then boom, they see the guns and they're like, oh, and then they tell him, they're like, hey, you're going to help unload all of this stuff and you're going to load it into this ship and we're going to fly it out of here. Now, anybody who doesn't think they can hustle, raise their hand. And nobody does, but if they do, they're getting shot on the spot if they don't want to hustle. Right. So then they unlock the bank or, whatever it would be. And then he's like, I don't have the secondary thing to undo them. They use this fancy tool. They do it. He's kind of shocked. And he starts telling people, hustle. You load it on the freight and everything. This meteor shower that's going by that's distracting everybody outside.
Yeah, that was a big thing. The eye.
The eye. That everyone's watching.
And it was cool. And it was cool. And what that is, folks, is it's basically a meteor shower that covers the entire planet. And it's coming so fast and so many that it makes an eye on the horizon of, you just got this perfect circle where the meteors are all going around it. It was pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, it was cool. And this entire time while the plane's going down, they had set up, the two women had set up this like interceptor or something of the signal up top. And somebody already figured out that was going on. And they're starting to make their way down to the vault while their plan is in action. They come out, and the lieutenant is ordering them. It's none of their business. This is a private thing. Get out now. And the guy's almost falling for it. Like, real stupid. He's just like, but because by the Empire, he's like, there's a full chance that if this is what it is, he's just going to kill me. Right. But if it's not, I'm going to get killed for letting people steal from the vault. So he's fucked. So as he's fighting with this, the mid-boss dies, or he has a heart attack or something like that. Apologies once again, folks. Once he does that, they're trying to convince him. They open fire. So there's this big firefight going on. They load what they can. They're trying to get everybody in. The lieutenant dies. I felt like some other people die.
Yeah, okay. There were several of the folks died there, and because they mention it later.
Yeah, the boy makes it on. The man who held the knife up to Cassian makes it on. The leader makes it on, and Cassian makes it on. Then they get in the ship, they fly it out of there, and the TIE fighters are already after them. And so he's like, I need directions. And they're like, when he launched off, he slung one of the trays of the currency, the credits, into the boy. He got smashed, which is what Robert was mentioning. And so he's like, I need to know where we're going. Cassian's like, we need to know. And they're looking at him like, dude, you're a fucking prick. He's back here dying, squished. We need help. Cassian eases off just a little bit. They get him free and everything. He's like, I need directions. And they're like, fine. You know, they give it to him. And the guy's dying breath is just like, hey, he tells it to him. And Cassian's almost second guessing and not doing it. But then he follows the directions and they make it out of the eye. And keep in mind, this is a meteor shower covering the entire planet that he's having to fly out of.
Right.
So they make it out and they're trying to figure out, like, okay, where's the destination we need to go? And she's like, the leader is like, we just need to move on. And the guy who held the knife up to Cassian's throat was like, no, this boy is the reason we made it out. We need to take him to the doctor. And he's like, I know somebody. So now the decision's on Cassian. We've got one for trying to save the boy, one for moving on. All right. We get to the planet. The boy's at a doctor. We obviously see Cassian then decided to go along with that guy and try to save the boy. So while the leader is in there, the boy's trying to get saved by the doctor. He's out having a heart-to-heart with the guy who held the knife to his throat. And they're sitting there, and the guy goes, what is it, 500 million credits or something like that. It was a big number. And he's like, you know what, man? You know, split between us two, we go. I got a safe house far from here. You know, we don't even have to. There's more for us. And Cassian's starting to get this puzzled look. And the guy missing goes, I don't have a brother that was killed. I came here to have a piece of this money. I want by myself, less to share. I got to look out for numero uno. I see it in your eyes. You're the same way. You got to look out for numero uno. And so he's talking about how he used these people and he wants to leave them here to die and that he's going to steal the money. So what does Cassian do? Kills him right there on the spot, just like at the beginning with the soldier. So you get this, like, Cassian has no room for bullshit. He's not letting someone silver tongue their way out. Is it silver tongue? Snake tongue?
Yeah.
What is it?
Silver tongue. Their
way out of it. So he goes into the leader, holding a gun to the leader's head and the doctor. The leader doesn't know. The doctor's like, I couldn't save him. I couldn't do it. And the boy's dead on the table. The leader turns around. She's all confused. He's like, I'm taking my credits. I'm leaving. You could do this, like, kind of give him a way out and everything. And she's like, why, and everything. And, you know, he doesn't really care at first, but then later in the conversation, he's like, that dude just tried to double cross you. And she's like, no, he'd never. And he's like, well, he's dead outside. No, he's not. And she starts calling for him. Well, he dead. He slumped over.
He's got a toe tag.
And
he also gives the crystal to her. He gives that crystal back.
Give this back to him. I'm taking just what was promised to me.
Exactly.
And she stops him. She goes, here, take this. The boy wanted you to have it. And he goes, no, I'm done here. I'm having no attachments. I'm moving on with my life. And she goes, like, something like he died. Like, he made me promise to give it to you or something. Like, take it.
And it was the diary, right?
Yeah, which what Robert was alluding to. Which I didn't piece that together until y'all were mentioning it.
Right.
So he goes back home to his mother. Before we go on to that, which is a huge part that we get to wrap up the show with, was there anything else you wanted to talk about the whole raid of the garrison?
No, it was, you see Cassian becoming the leader, and again, he's the reluctant hero. He wanted to come in, follow orders, get this thing done, but he has to become basically, a co-leader of this whole thing. But the power, he's having to rely on people that he doesn't know, people that are in the Empire. And so, but you're seeing him evolve into a leader. Hush. Sorry, folks.
They have an opinion too.
Yeah, it's Turtle, and she knows it's 10 o'clock. She's like, hey, show's supposed to be over. But no, you were seeing Cassian, becoming the leader that we know him to be in Rogue One. But like you were saying, he goes back home. He's got his credits, and all he wants to do is grab his mom and get the hell out.
And his droid. He says
and his droid. He's got a cool little droid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, I want to get the hell out of here, and we're gonna leave in the morning. We've got enough money. And she's like, this is the same.
We're leaving right now. He goes, we're leaving right now. And she goes, but I'm tired. I'm old and I'm frail. Like she's making excuses, which we don't realize till later. And then he goes, okay, I understand, Mom. It was too much to burst on you right now. You rest, get your stuff together. We go first thing in the morning. I have to go run to Bix's anyway, which is the woman who helped him in the front. He didn't know that Tim died and ratted him out.
Right.
So that's when
she tells him, the mom tells him that Tim ratted him out. But when he goes to see Bix, maybe I missed something, because at first I was thinking that she got beat for something, for helping Andor, Cassian, because she comes to the door and she's got a bloody nose. And he says, what the hell happened? And she goes, I ran into a door or a wall like always. And to me, that alluded to domestic abuse, because that's just a classic thing, or case study or whatever. And so, did you catch anything on that? Was it stormtroopers? Because she doesn't mention anything.
She says that they did a heavy lockdown, which we even see Cyril orders the guy to occupy this like hotel or something. Tells him he could dress however he wants for the position or whatever. And he tells him as long as they do it. And she tells him, like, you made things really bad here. You made it really bad. And I think that's what it is now she got in trouble for either trying to help or something, probably got beat by them and thrown back into the streets is probably what it was. Or, Robert, great point. Interrogation on what had happened.
Right. Because they were looking for Cassian, because we got to kind of back up. They have to escape, and they Cassian and the old man, they meet up and they have to escape. And so they set up a distraction that makes that other guy look really, really bad again. And so he gets in trouble for that. That's why he ends up getting sent off to basically be a office worker.
He gets ripped from his design. Oh, man, we didn't even talk about that. Dude, they line up all the people who are involved with going after Cassian, and even the boss who wasn't involved. And the boss goes, but sir, I had nothing to do with this. And the boss, the Empire, whatever, goes, exactly. A lack of authority has created these events and circumstances, which is why you're getting punished too. I just wanted to say that real quick. That was awesome. Yeah. It's like, your lack of authority caused this.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, there was an explosion that goes on. But anyway, so we're back. Cassian's back on the home planet, or his home planet, and he walks in, and his mom's not ready, and the robot tells him, the droid tells him, he's like, no, she said we can't go. And he's like, what the hell you mean? And this is another aspect that I think is setting up Cassian for the rebellion, because she's talking about she's going to stay there and help the rebellion, that there's a rebellion building, and I'm going to help them.
And this is where I was getting the most excited. I don't know about you, because I was like, holy shit, we're starting to see after these circumstances, because right now we're still not feeling like Cassian's into the rebellion. We're not at all for that. But then right there, that moment, I was like, it's starting to sink in. I love it.
Because she says, he says, or she says that we get a flashback that a buddy was hung by the Empire, and that shows some more hatred. That's another big aspect, and that's the thing, folks. That we're 5 minutes over the time. Don't think that we have spoiled the entire thing for you. We are just talking about some of the bigger points of the storyline. There's still a lot of other stuff that goes on. You got some other characters like Robert just mentioned. I'm not sure of her name, but she's got a vendetta. She's actually the one that thinks there's a rebellion building up.
She's smart. And she's been working the Empire for that information and getting it around them. And she even got told off by the big boss. The guy reports her and he goes, why don't you do better at what you're doing in your reports before you start doing this and show proof if you do? And she goes, well, fuck you. Here's the report. And then the big boss looks at the other guy who reported her and goes, well, fuck you. And like, all right.
Because she's getting the money, or not the money. She's understanding that across the galaxy, from different areas of the Empire, that these important pieces of machinery or technology is coming up missing with no explanation. And she builds a timeline or a string that she's going, look, this stuff is stolen and it's making its way to the rebellion. Go ahead. And so you get the sense of she is trying to unmask the rebellion, show that it is bigger than what anybody thinks. And so that's another big storyline onto it. I like that character. She is strong, she's smart, but again, there's a lot of other aspects to the entire show. And then we've got, like I said, Andor shows back up at home. He's wanting to his mom to go. She says no. And then she tells him, she's like, look, no matter where you go, there's going to be these lockdowns. It's coming. Because like we said, they locked down that city where Andor is from because they were looking for him. And she's like, this is going to be everywhere you go. I'm old, I'm tired, and I'm going to do what I can to fight the Empire. And I basically don't care if I die doing so. And that's kind of where we're at now. David will probably have something else to add in here. He had to jump off for just a second. He'll be right back. But we are, it's just 7 episodes in. Welcome back, sir. I just talked about that. She tells him, that there's going to be the garrisons or the lockdowns anywhere that they go. And he's like, we can go outside of the Empire. We'll go somewhere where they're not.
Anywhere.
Yeah, we got enough money. We can roll. And she's like, no, wherever we go, this is going to happen. I'm going to stay and do what I can to fight. And there's a really good exchange there where go ahead.
I was going to say, did you talk to them about how she talks about how his father was hung in the streets and the flashback of that?
No, I didn't. And
yeah, there's go ahead.
And it's I was just going to say, we get flashback of the dad, when they took him from his home planet, this guy becomes his surrogate father, and Andor's grown up and they're in the city square. The Empire's showing up. There's a bunch of stormtroopers going by, marching by. Well, people are yelling at them, calling them names. And once they pass by, a group of guys goes out and they start chucking rocks at them. And the dad walks out in the street. He's throwing up his arms. He's going, no, stop. This isn't the way. Well, then the guy running the stormtroopers calls a halt, tells them to turn around and aim their weapons. And I thought they were going to blast their asses. They cut scene there. And then we get to the mom, and like you said, she, says something. But anyway, you take it from here.
She says that I used to never be able to walk through the town.
Oh, yeah.
Due to them hanging your father and leaving him there. I always had to walk around. For the first time in forever, I was able to walk through
because of the heist. Because she's saying it's starting.
Yeah, and she doesn't know. Yeah,
right.
He's involved. And she's just like, somebody was brave enough to do this, and we all need to step up now. Like, she's trying to, like, hype the audience up without even knowing it. You know, like giving that real Princess Leia speech, you know?
Exactly.
And,
he doesn't tell her. He doesn't tell her that he was involved.
Yeah, which I was surprised. I thought he was going to try to snap his mom out of it. No, Mom, that was me. I did it only for the money. I don't care about it. But he didn't at all.
You know, and he could have even brought up hell.
We got our visitors.
You have made it when you start getting porn spam in your live chat. You know, and man, she's hitting again on another one. But anyway, so yeah, she tells him no. We kind of getting a sense for the building of the rebellion more so. We've got 8, 9, 10, 11. We got 4 episodes left of this season. And so I am excited to see what's going to happen. Overall, this is, in my opinion, one of the slower. I think it's because she was already, I don't know. But it's one of the slower Star Wars things. We're not thrown in the middle of a story. You know, it had a good beginning, but then it's slowly building these characters that I really think are going to be a big part of stuff. But one other thing I wanted to say is then we get a meeting between the leader of the group that Cassian was with and then somebody else. I'm not real sure. I couldn't
It was somebody who worked with.
Yo. No.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Nope. You're dead, man.
Weird.
It just happened for no reason. But anyway, so David's mic isn't working. I'll tell you when I can hear you. Keep talking.
Testing. Hello.
But
hello.
Nope. But anyway, so they meet up, and the one chick tells the leader of that rebellion that they have to kill. There's only one loose end, and that's Cassian. We don't know anything about him. We do know about him, but we got to
hear both of us.
Oh, weird. Okay, well, keep talking. I can't hear you though, so it's going to be hard to go back and forth. You go ahead. I'm going to assume you know who she is, and you got something to say.
She works with the old guy and the senator about starting the rebellion, and that once starts the rebellion, this is what she had to be signed up for. She's got to basically get the balls, grow up and do it, and then tells the chick that was leading the group, hey, tie off your loose ends, go kill Cassian. And she's like, that's not what I signed up for. So, of course, that ends off. But then not only that, but then we get into where we meet K2SO, and he's on a different planet. And he's caught in these other people running when he was just out relaxing. It doesn't tell us what he was doing there, but he had nothing to do with these people running. And he gets to a court, he gets judged, and he gets sentenced for like 6 years. It used to be 6 months, but now it's 6 years. And so now he's having to go away, and that's the end of the series. I mean, that's the end of episode 7. So now we've got 5 more episodes to be able to determine everything. Matthew, I'm assuming you can't hear me. He's out. I guess he's having equipment issues. But ladies and gentlemen, that sums up episodes 1 through 7 of Andor, which is a Star Wars series that has been pushed out. Guys, if you have not already, go ahead and check out our other Star Wars series on Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is one of our most popular, so I'll know if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll enjoy it. Matthew, welcome back. Can you hear me?
Man, I could only read your lips right there. I saw you say Matthew. I can't hear a word. I left the studio, come back in to see if I could hear you. Everybody else is saying that they can hear us. And but give me a nod, yes or no, folks. We're both on. Y'all can hear us, but I can't hear him. He can hear me. I don't know what the hell happened here, so we're kind of guesstimating. But did you have anything else you wanted to say on it, or are we good to wrap up?
So I wrapped it up.
Give me hand signs or something, brother. Okay. But yeah, overall, as I was saying a minute ago, it's starting a little slow, but I think they're building up to a lot, and so it remains to be seen. We'll see what's going. If they got 24 episodes, I think, I hope that they got an outline going. They know what they want to do throughout all this, and Rogue One is my favorite of the newer movies. I just thought it was a masterpiece, and so I'm hoping they do that justice. This Andor was announced shortly after Rogue One, and then I thought it kind of went to the wayside, but it didn't. It's here, and I'm interested to see what else goes on. And so if y'all haven't checked it out, it is of course on Disney Plus. The only other thing I wanted to say was I am still more impressed with what Disney is doing with Star Wars than what they are doing with Marvel stuff right now.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. The Marvel stuff on Disney Plus is just it's lackluster right now. Yeah, it's going further and further down. But folks, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us again. If you're listening on the podcast or you catch a little clip on TikTok or whatever, we are live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, and you can join us on YouTube. Join in on the chat, give comments. Probably sometimes give us answers to things that we don't think of. But we're going to wrap it up. We again thank you all for joining. If you haven't checked out Andor, do so. We'll probably, after the next 4 episodes, we'll do another little show to wrap up the entire series and discuss what we thought about it. Next week, we're not sure what the fuck we're doing yet. I think we're going to do I don't know. We don't know yet.
If you have any ideas, guys, make sure to drop it below so that we can do shows that pique your interest.
Don't know what you said. Hope it was cool. But that's going to do it for us, folks. Thanks again for joining. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday. And I got to get the right button here. Have a great one, everyone.
Oh, that does it for this episode of Into the GeekVerse. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. And if you want to join us live, hit that bell so you never miss a show. Want to catch us on the go? Listen to our podcast on every major platform, but you can catch the real fun on YouTube. Be sure to visit geekinsider.com for tons of great geek content and advertising opportunities. And if you want to stay up to date on all things geeky, sign up for our newsletter. We'll see you next Sunday at 9 p.m. Central. And if you're not here, we might have to revoke your geek card. Have a great week, everyone.